Welcome to Harmonized. I am your host, Gigi Naval, a registered dietitian for over 30 years who transitioned to practicing with a functional nutrition approach to help you improve your metabolic health and energy by way of optimizing your gut and hormone health to work in harmony with each other. We are moving right along in my framework/acronym BETTER. Yes, we are on the second E of the acronym BETTER. And in the previous episodes, I've gone over what B stands for, E, the first T, the second T, and we're almost done with this series. Okay, so the second E stands for enjoy moving it. You're thinking right now, okay, well, she's going to talk about exercise. But yes, there will be two sides to this. Two sides. There's always the other side of the story. And before I get into that story, let me tell you this. Way back in the day, when I was, I think, either 15 or 16 years old, I was reading Reader's Digest. And I saw a quote by, I don't know if she's still alive. I think she is. And I should have looked it up. But there is this, okay, I never watched the show, but this Dynasty actress, her name is Linda Evans. I think she's still alive. Okay, but she had a quote there that if you honor your body when you're young, then it will honor you when you're older. So in my teenage years, I was already into working out, exercising, etc. And to this day, I still do, but there was a point in my life over many years that if I just did activities like endurance, activities like running a full marathon, which I've done a few of those, doing half marathons, doing long distance bike rides and all that, I thought I was giving myself extra credit. Yep, I thought, woohoo, look at me. I'm going the extra mile or extra miles. Okay, yes, I learned my lesson that the hard way, okay, but I learned my lesson that more is not always necessarily better when it comes to movement. And I thought I was honoring my body in that way. Again, I've been exercising ever since I was in high school. And I thought just pushing it beyond what was asked of you was honoring your body. Okay, so the E again, it stands for enjoy moving it. And of course, it's important to enjoy moving it, doing daily movements that is not a dread, that it is not like a pain or, oh, it's just something that I have to do. We cannot look at as much as possible exercise as a dread. Okay, because when we think that way, that is sending signals from our brain to our gut that, get ready to ramp up your stress because this is not an enjoyable activity. And keep in mind that the brain speaks to the gut and the gut speaks to the brain, and they're constantly talking to each other. All right, so it's important to assess, am I even moving it enough on a daily basis, whether it be walking, how many steps? You have your particular goals for steps. It might not always be 10,000. For you, it might be 7,000. For somebody else, it might be 12,000. For somebody else, it might be 8,000. And yes, there are studies on that. And we'll circle around back to those step studies, but it might be that for you. It could be doing also some enjoyable pickleball time with friends. And what I mentioned so far are cardiovascular, but then what are the other activities that allow you to do some strength training, whether it be lifting dumbbells, okay, or doing body weight exercises, or I love using the bands. There are big bands to use and the small bands, and I like variety, okay? So are we even doing enough of that on a regular basis? So that is something that you need to evaluate for yourself. And we can't just do one and not the other. It is so important to have both. If we are not engaging in regular movement, including like just dancing for fun, right? Or jumping on your rebounder or trampoline, that's super fun. If we don't engage in that on a regular basis, then our gut community can actually be affected negatively. But when we change our minds and we start moving regularly, then it can help shift our gut community to having more beneficial bacteria, helping with overcoming the other bacteria that we don't want too much of. Okay, so it's very helpful in shifting this community that goes with us wherever we go. Now, here's the thing though. This is where I erred. I thought that when you overdo, that it is benefiting your health. Well, actually, it is quite the opposite. Now, if you overtrain, if you over-exercise, then that can actually lead to increased levels of cortisol, our stress hormone. When we have too much of it, that can wreak havoc on our gut. Okay, we need it again. Okay, I need to emphasize how much we need cortisol when we wake up. But if it stays too high too long throughout the day, that's not a good thing. So if we are participating in exercise activities for many hours in a day, more than an hour, that can actually then shift our gut community again, but negatively. You need to exercise regularly to shift it in a positive manner, but overdoing it can actually wreak havoc. And it can make some of the bacteria that we don't want in a certain level to go too high, and maybe others can also go too low. So yes, don't overdo exercise. It does not give extra credit. And I started to say that when we over-exercise, that can increase our cortisol levels. And when cortisol stays elevated, that can actually affect our gut lining. And then the lining of our gut can become permeable, and that can allow bacteria that we don't want, that is overgrown in our gut, to escape, and other toxins that's in our gut to escape out into our bloodstream, and then it will circulate through our body, causing increased inflammation. So everything in mindful moderation. And I really had to change my whole viewpoint and mindset on all these extreme or just extra exercises that I didn't necessarily need in excess. But it is important to be able to engage in. I had a client in which she came to me in her late 20s. She had already been married to her husband for a couple of years, but they really wanted to start a family. But she didn't have her periods for, how long had it been? Several months. And she was one that was engaging in what she called, it was like very similar to CrossFit, like very intense exercises. And she was doing that almost every day of every week. And then she was also teaching classes, exercise classes herself. And I said, sister, your body is clamoring for help. Your body is thinking, this is too much for me. There are so many hormones that are off because you are just overdoing it. And so, yeah, that was one of the things she had to cut back on. Not that we took exercise away, but I had to help her look at the opportunity to just rest and give her body the opportunity to rejuvenate. But not only did I guide her through rest, but still moving her body enjoyably. But then we looked at her gut community, and boy, did she have a lot of overgrowth because she had H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori. So we also worked on that, removing it, not through antibiotics, but through an antimicrobial route. We worked on all of these areas to help rebalance her hormones and her gut community. And wow, what a sweet moment it was when she sent me a text message saying that she finally was pregnant. And then when her baby was born, that was an amazing story. So, yes, it's true that God wants us to take care of our bodies because our bodies are the temple of God. It is not our temple. It is His. So we do have to take care of it, but we shouldn't take care of it to a point where we are just making health an idol. And so our workouts become an idol, going for those finished medals of finishing a full marathon or a half marathon or what have you. Those become idols. And that's taking away from what our ultimate goal is in life. And that is to be healthy and strong so that we can serve God and then serve our family members and then serve our community. So yes, move it, but don't overdo it. Okay. In the next episode, we will be looking at the letter R, the last pillar in our framework, better. Okay, friend. So in all that we do, in all that we eat and drink, let's do it all for the glory of God. If you need personalized help in resolving your gut, hormone, or metabolic health challenges, then sign up to work with me in my fusion program called Gut and Hormone Harmonizer in the link located in the description.